Okay, now I see a live chat. Okay, gotcha. All right, hopefully y'all will join back. I'm just gonna wait for y'all to join, and then I will start talking. So I'm happy I can see my chat box now. If somebody can just throw a comment in there really quick, just so I can see. And I'm sorry if there's screaming and noise, like all of a sudden we just got a huge rainstorm and apparently there's kids. Hey, Dre. Okay, cool. I see the comment. All right, guys. So this is my very first live stream. I wanted to do a video, but y'all don't know like the struggle of, hey guys, y'all don't know the struggle of making a video, editing it, like putting in all the stuff you want to put into it. It's seriously some time consuming stuff. And I wanted to get on here and talk about, now I know that they have revamped some of the wording on their website. So they have, I'm just going to their website right now. They have completely like reworded their website, reworded their About Me section, reworded what our mission statement is. It's still terrible. It's still terrible. It's still really, really bad. And I had done a video on this like a little bit, like where people could understand the context of Black Lives Matter, but it was more geared towards the fact that they had denied any help to Burnell Trammell and his killing or his murder. You know, so it was basically a video that I made to like blast them more or less on their response to that. So I read a section of you guys that do not know what the Willie Lynch letter is. I asked that you guys Google it, okay? Because it's quite long, and I'm not going to sit up here and read the entire letter to you because it is extremely, extremely long. But basically, okay, so the thing with the Willie Lynch letter is it is said to be fake. It is said that it's a fake letter. Basically, it was a slave owner, Willie Lynch, a slave owner in the West Indies, okay, that was written in 1712. And it was really just a speech, but they call it the Willie Lynch letter. And they used it to train slave owners how to build the perfect slave. The first time I read it was when I was on my talk show, Mouthful. Now, if you guys didn't follow me back when I was on Mouthful, I'm no longer with Mouthful anymore, but we did an episode talking about the Willie Lynch letter, and I really feel like we didn't do it justice. We didn't get the do you guys hear the screaming? It's crazy outside. We didn't get the response that I was really hoping to get from the letter. So I want to read a little bit of it to you, and then we're going to go over to the Black Lives Matter website and talk about what it says there. The reason why I wanted to talk about this is because I get a lot of people asking me, you know, like, how can I justify, you know, that Black Lives Matter isn't a good organization, what they stand for isn't good, that they're hurting the Black community. And you know, it's a hard argument to make, but when you can use it in the context of comparing it to this Willie Lynch letter, it is a very interesting point to make to somebody. So I'm going to read a little bit of this to you so that you guys can see for yourself. So it says, this speech was said to have been delivered by Willie Lynch on the banks of the James River in the colony of Virginia in 1712. So this is where the word lynching came from, was supposedly from Willie Lynch. He was a British slave owner in the West Indies. He was invited to the colony of Virginia in 1712 to teach his methods to slave owners there. Okay. So what he says in this letter is basically an instruction on how to make a good slave. So he says, I'm here to introduce to you the method of solving your problem. I have a foolproof method for controlling your Black slaves. I guarantee every one of you that if installed correctly, it will control the slaves for at least 300 years or more. My method is simple. Any member of your family or your overseer can use this. I have outlined a number of differences among the slaves, and I take these differences and make them bigger. I use fear, distrust, and envy for control purposes. So I'm going to stop there for a second, because just that we're dealing with right now, with this whole Black Lives Matter movement, with this whole uprising of not just Black people, but white people fighting for this, okay? It is all about fear, distrust, envy, and control. Okay. It's the same thing with the Democratic Party platform. Now, I want to make a really, really good point. Okay. The Democratic Party really, really changed. Okay. Now, it is well known that George Soros funds Black Lives Matter. Okay. He gives them a lot of money. George Soros also gave a lot of money to Obama's campaign. And I watched an interview with George Soros, and he talked about how he was a little disappointed in Obama's presidency. And he acknowledged the fact that he gave him a lot of money. So I say that because I really start to think about how and why this has evolved the way it has. And I think about George Soros and what a controlling, evil person he is. And I think, well, darn, was Obama the worst slave he ever hired? Something to think about there. I really feel like he made sure Obama got into the presidency so that he could use Obama to control him, and in turn control the people that idolized him. You know, very similar to this letter. Okay, so it says, these methods have worked on my modest plantation in the West Indies and will work throughout the South. Take this simple little list of differences and think about them. On the top of my list is so this really speaks to, and he goes into this a little bit more about the color. He says, let's see, whether the slaves live in the valley, on a hill, east, west, north, south, have fine hair, coarse hair, tall or short. Now that you have a list of their differences, I shall give you an outline of action. But before that, I shall assure you that distrust is stronger than trust, and envy stronger than adulation, respect, or admiration. The Black slaves, after receiving this indoctrination, shall carry on and will become self-refueling and self-generating for hundreds of years, maybe thousands. Don't forget, you must pitch the old Black male against the young Black male, the young Black male against the old Black male. You must use dark-skinned slaves against light-skinned slaves. The light-skinned slaves versus the dark-skinned slaves. You must use females against the males and males against the females. You must also have white servants and overseers that distrust all Blacks, because it is necessary that your slaves trust and depend on us. They must love, respect, and trust only us. So that is so, like, such strong wording to me. And it just reminds me of how the Democratic Party continues to make sure that the Black community is dependent off of them. Now, I don't want to make the assumption that everybody in the Black community, or when you think of Black, you think of poor, or you think of somebody who needs something from somebody else, because there's a lot of very successful Black people that do not depend off of government handouts. But there are a lot that do. And those are the ones that they are seriously, seriously depending on to keep this type of movement going. And I say this type of movement because this is no different from what is being done today. What are they doing? They're making Black people feel like they're hated. They're making Black people feel like they're different. They're making Black people feel like they do not have the same access to things that non-Black people do. Isn't it so interesting when you start to think about it like this, that what they said in this letter, that if you teach them how to do this, they will teach themselves for hundreds and thousands of years to come. And that is what is so crazy about this.